The champagne glass shattered against marble. Victoria Chun stood in her own doorway, suitcase still in hand, watching a stranger toast her husband in what used to be her living room. The woman wore Victoria's favorite silk dress, the emerald one she'd been saving for their anniversary. Marcus didn't even flinch when Victoria walked in. He just smiled that cold smile she'd never seen before and said, "Honey, meet Natasha. She's moving in." The words hung in the air like poison. Victoria had left for a medical conference 3 days ago. She'd come home to find her marriage had been replaced. Victoria set her suitcase down slowly, her surgeon's hands steady despite the earthquake inside her chest. 12 years. 12 years of marriage, of building a life, of believing in something that apparently never existed. Natasha was younger, maybe 28, with perfectly styled blonde hair and confidence that came from not paying her own rent. She draped herself across the white leather sofa Victoria had custom ordered from Italy and smiled like she'd won something. "Marcus has told me so much about you," Natasha said, her voice syrupy sweet. "The busy doctor who's never home. Must be exhausting. All those ... patients." Victoria's jaw tightened. She was a cardiothoracic surgeon, one of the best in Seattle. She'd performed over 2,000 open-heart surgeries. She'd saved lives while Marcus complained about her long hours. "Where are your things?" Victoria asked Marcus, her voice clinical, detached, the same tone she used to deliver bad news to families. Marcus loosened his tie, the expensive one she'd bought him for his birthday. "My things are exactly where they should be. This is my house too, Vic. You can't just kick me out because you're jealous." Jealous. The word was laughable. Victoria wasn't jealous. She was calculating. She was already 3 moves ahead, the way she always was in the operating room when something went wrong. "The guest room is yours for tonight," Victoria said quietly. "Tomorrow we talk to lawyers." Natasha laughed, actually laughed. "Honey, maybe you should be the one finding somewhere else to stay. Marcus and I have plans here." "Big plans." Victoria looked at her husband. Really looked at him. She saw a man who'd never asked about her day, who'd never visited her at the hospital, who'd called her career cute at dinner parties while taking credit for the lifestyle her salary provided. "Enjoy the house," Victoria said. "You're going to need it." Victoria drove to the Four Seasons and checked into a suite overlooking Puget Sound. She didn't cry. She'd learned long ago that tears didn't fix problems, precision did. She opened her laptop and pulled up documents she'd kept meticulously organized for years. The prenuptial agreement Marcus had signed without reading because his lawyer said it was standard. The property deed showing the house was purchased entirely with her inheritance from her grandmother. The investment accounts in her name only. Marcus thought she was just a doctor. He had no idea who she really was. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. She ignored it. 47 missed calls by morning. Instead, she called her lawyer Catherine Morrison, the same woman who drafted that prenup 12 years ago. "Victoria," Catherine answered on the first ring. "What's wrong?" "I need divorce papers drawn up, today, and I need you to pull every financial record from the past decade." Catherine was silent for 3 seconds. "He cheated. He's living with her. In my house. Wearing my jewelry, drinking my wine, sleeping in my bed. I'll have papers ready by noon. But Victoria, there's something you should know. I've been tracking unusual activity on your joint account. Someone's been making large withdrawals." Victoria's blood ran cold. "How large?" "Over the past 80 months? Nearly $200,000. The number hit her like a scalpel to the chest. 200,000. Marcus had been stealing from her while planning to replace her. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Your husband says you're crazy. That you're imagining things. That you're obsessed with work and neglecting your marriage. Everyone at the club knows. Just thought you should know what he's saying about you." A friend, Victoria, stared at the message. Then she smiled. Marcus had just made this very easy. The next morning, Victoria performed a 7-hour surgery, a triple bypass on a 62-year-old teacher. Her hands never shook. Her focus never wavered. In the operating room, she had control. She had purpose. When she scrubbed it out, her phone had 83 notifications. Marcus had called her colleagues. He'd called her friends. He'd even called her brother, telling everyone that Victoria was having a breakdown and making wild accusations about an affair that never happened. Natasha was posting photos on social media from Victoria's living room, her kitchen, her bedroom. Captions like "New beginnings" and "Finally home" and "When you know." Victoria's best friend, Rachel, a corporate lawyer, showed up at the hospital with coffee and fury. "I saw the posts," Rachel said. "Tell me you're destroying him, legally and completely." "Good, because I did some digging." Natasha Sterling, she's been through this before. 3 different men in 5 years. She finds successful guys, moves in, gets comfortable, then tries to claim common law marriage when they dump her. She's a professional. Victoria absorbed this information the way she absorbed surgical data, coldly, methodically. "Marcus doesn't know I have money outside our joint accounts," Victoria said. "He thinks my salary is everything I have." Rachel raised an eyebrow. "The medical patents?" Victoria had revolutionized a heart valve replacement procedure. She held 7 patents on surgical instruments and techniques. Hospitals worldwide paid licensing fees. Her passive income was more than most people's salaries. "He never asked where the money came from," Victoria said. "He just spent it. How much are we talking?" "The patents generate about $4 million annually. I've been investing it for 8 years. Rachel's eyes widened. "He has no idea you're worth $32 million, Victoria finished. "And tomorrow, he's going to find out." The process server found Marcus at his office, a marketing firm where he was a mid-level account executive making $70,000 a year. Victoria had arranged for the papers to be delivered during a staff meeting. According to her private investigator, Marcus went pale, excused himself, and spent 20 minutes in the bathroom. Then he started calling Victoria. She blocked every number. The divorce petition was 47 pages long. It included full disclosure of Victoria's assets, $32 million, evidence of Marcus's affair, photos, receipts, witness statements, documentation of the $200,000 he'd stolen, demand for full reimbursement plus legal fees, notification that the house would be sold. It was in her name only, freezing of all joint accounts per court order by evening. Victoria's investigator confirmed Marcus had tried to withdraw money from the joint account, declined. He'd tried to use the credit cards, all canceled. He'd called the mortgage company about the house. They'd informed him he wasn't on the deed. He'd called Victoria 60 times. Natasha had packed her bags and left within an hour of seeing the divorce papers. According to Rachel's contacts, she'd called Marcus a broke loser and said she didn't sign up for poverty. Victoria received one text from Marcus that night. "This isn't fair. You hid money from me. You lied about everything. I want half of what you have. See you in court." Victoria forwarded the message to Catherine, who responded, "Perfect. He just admitted in writing that he expected money from you. This helps our case tremendously." Victoria stood in her hotel suite, looking out at the city lights. She'd spent 12 years trying to save a marriage to a man who'd never valued her. Now she was going to save herself, and it would be the most successful operation of her career. 3 weeks later, Victoria stood in front of 23 women in a conference room at the Fairmont Hotel. They ranged in age from 25 to 68. They'd all responded to an anonymous letter they'd received offering legal help, financial support, and a safe way out of difficult marriages. "My name is Victoria," she said. "6 months ago, I walked into my home and found my husband living with another woman. He'd been stealing from me for years. He'd been telling people I was crazy, neglectful, obsessed with work, anything to justify what he was doing." The women nodded. They understood. "I had resources," Victoria continued. "I had money, lawyers, education. Most of you don't. That's why I created this program, the Fresh Start Initiative. We provide legal representation, temporary housing, job placement, and financial support for women leaving toxic marriages. No strings attached. No judgment. Just help." A woman in her 40s raised her hand, tears in her eyes. "Why would you do this for strangers?" Victoria thought about all the hours she'd spent in operating rooms, fixing hearts that were broken by disease. But there was another kind of broken heart, the kind caused by betrayal, by being unseen, by loving someone who never loved you back. "Because I wish someone had told me sooner that I deserved better," Victoria said. "Because no woman should have to stay in a marriage that's killing her spirit just because she can't afford to leave. Because we're stronger together." By the end of the meeting, 17 women had signed up for help. Victoria funded the program with $2 million from her patents. Marcus would learn about it from the news, and he would finally understand who she really was and what he'd lost. Marcus sat in his studio apartment, 600 square feet in a building that smelled like old carpet and broken dreams. The furniture was from IKEA. The walls were thin enough to hear his neighbor's television. His phone sat on the cheap coffee table, playing a news segment on repeat. Local surgeon launches $2 million initiative to help women escape difficult marriages. Dr. Victoria Chun's Fresh Start Initiative has already helped over 50 women in just 2 months. The camera showed Victoria at a press conference, confident and articulate, explaining her mission. She looked different, stronger, happier. The reporter asked, "What inspired this program, Dr. Chun?" "I went through a divorce recently," Victoria said. "It taught me that financial dependence keeps many women trapped. I wanted to change that. Your ex-husband must have strong feelings about this initiative." Victoria's smile was ice. "My ex-husband is entitled to his feelings. I'm entitled to help others." Marcus threw his phone across the room. His lawyer had called that morning with bad news. The prenup was ironclad. Victoria's patents and investments were completely protected. The house had sold for $3.2 million. Every penny went to Victoria, since her name was on the deed. Marcus owed her $207,000. The judge had ordered wage garnishment 25% of every paycheck for the next 9 years. His mother had called him a fool. His sister had uninvited him from her wedding. His colleagues whispered about him at work. Natasha had moved on to a real estate developer in Portland. And Victoria? Victoria was on the news, in magazines, being interviewed as a philanthropist and advocate. The woman he'd called obsessed with work was changing lives. The woman he'd laughed at was a multimillionaire. The woman he'd replaced was irreplaceable, and he'd thrown her away like she was nothing. 2 years later, Victoria stood in the lobby of her new surgical center, a state-of-the-art facility she'd funded to provide free cardiac care to uninsured patients. The walls were painted in warm colors. Children's artwork decorated the waiting area. A man approached her nervously. Older, graying hair, kind eyes. "Dr. Chun? I'm James Harrington. My firm designed the building." They'd corresponded by email for months, but never met in person. James was an architect who specialized in medical facilities. His designs prioritize patient comfort and healing environments. "The building is beautiful," Victoria said. "You did incredible work." I had incredible inspiration. What you're doing here, it's remarkable." They talked for an hour about the center, about design, about healing. James had lost his wife to heart disease 5 years ago. He'd watched her struggle with medical bills, with inadequate care, with a system that valued profit over people. "This center would have saved her," he said quietly. Victoria understood loss differently than James. But she understood. Over the next year, they worked on 3 more projects together. Medical centers in underserved communities. Each one funded by Victoria's patents, designed by James with reverence and care. They fell in love the way professionals do, slowly, respectfully, built on shared purpose and mutual admiration. James never asked about her money. He had his own successful practice. He asked about her day, her goals, her dreams. He attended her surgeries as an observer and called her brilliant. He made her laugh. When he proposed, it was simple. "I love you. Not what you've built or what you have. Just you. The woman who fixes hearts, including mine." Victoria said yes. Marcus sent a message that day. "I heard you're engaged. Congratulations. I hope he deserves you." Victoria didn't respond. She'd already moved on. 5 years after that champagne glass shattered. Victoria stood in her home, a waterfront estate with floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking Elliott Bay. James was in the kitchen making breakfast. Their 2-year-old daughter, Maya, was playing with blocks on the living room floor. The Fresh Start initiative had helped over 2,000 women. The surgical center she'd funded had treated 15,000 patients. Her patents had generated enough income to expand both programs internationally. Marcus's final payment had cleared last week. 9 years of wage garnishment, finally complete. Victoria felt nothing when she saw the notification. No satisfaction, no anger, no relief. Just nothing. He was a stranger now. A person from a life that no longer existed. Her phone buzzed. An email from one of the women she'd helped 3 years ago. "Dr. Chun, I wanted you to know. I just got my nursing degree. I start at Seattle General next month. My daughters watched me graduate. They saw their mother become something she never thought possible. Thank you for believing I could do more than survive. Thank you for showing me I could thrive. You changed my entire family's future." Victoria read the email twice, then showed it to James. "This is why you do it," he said, kissing her forehead. Maya toddled over, demanding attention. Victoria picked her up, holding her daughter close. The mistress had told her to get out. Her husband had laughed. And the next day, Victoria had walked away from everything that diminished her and toward everything that amplified her strength. The revenge wasn't the money or the house or the public vindication. The revenge was building a life so full of purpose, love, and meaning that the past became irrelevant. The revenge was knowing that while Marcus was still paying for his mistakes, Victoria was being paid in joy.